What is going on, everybody? It is time for our weekly edition of Married at First Sight. I kind of feel like this episode we're largely just rehashing like all the problems that the problem couples are having, just bringing everything back to the surface. I don't know how everybody else felt about that, but that's kind of my thoughts on tonight's episode. Let's start off with Bao and Johnny. Uh, we kind of started with going back and visiting like the everybody's childhood, and one thing that kind of stuck out for me was Johnny talking about his dad, and really just didn't like the idea that divorce was apparently a good enough excuse for Johnny's dad to not be part of his life. Divorce is pretty common nowadays, and in many situations, both parents get to be a part of that kid's life. Now, in some occasions, that's not true, but in those situations, often it's the choice of one of those people. Whichever parent doesn't want to be in that person's life, they aren't. That's not an excuse for Johnny's dad. If he wanted to be around, maybe not living in the same house, he could have made sacrifices to be there for Johnny, and he wasn't. That's not a failing of your mom leaving your dad, Johnny. That's a failing of your dad. And like father, like son, here we see Johnny being the one to blame for his own marriage falling apart. I did enjoy the one moment where we actually had Johnny admitting he didn't try to make it work, and kind of him regretting that right as he's preparing to walk away from this. There we go. Like, what proof? What more proof do you need that Johnny is at fault here? He straight up admitted he didn't work for the marriage. He didn't put the effort in. He didn't do the emotional legwork. He did nothing. I really like Bao and really wish that she would have got matched with just a decent human being, just not human trash. Just give her somebody decent, and instead she got Johnny. That ending with the meetings with Dr. Pepper, just brutal. Apparently Bao's friend said that she wouldn't let any of her friends date Bao, and Johnny was fishing for validation for walking away, and he got it. He absolutely got it. And now that feels like his get out of jail free card. That, oh look, somebody else said that they wouldn't date Bao, therefore it's fine for me to have never tried in this marriage. And what total utter betrayal by Bao's friend. That friendship, I hope it's over. I hope that is the last straw in that friendship, because you shouldn't be friends with people who view you that way, who view you as the person that no one should date, that no one should ever marry, and just pretty brutal. Anybody else notice how all of a sudden Johnny also cares about saying something damaging? Like, all of a sudden now he's going to hold his tongue when he has just been vile, absolutely vile to Bao all season long. Like, the things that came out of his mouth directed at Bao this season, absolutely disgusting. And there he is at the end of the episode saying, "Oh, let's play the blame Johnny game." Yeah, Johnny, you know why we're going to play the blame Johnny game? It's because it is your fault. Glad to see That pretty clear. They will not be staying together on decision day. One couple down, couple more left standing. And let's jump over to a couple that was totally done last week, and then somehow end this week with the door still being open. I have no clue how this happened. I have no clue how Zach went from being done to all of a sudden he wants to keep trying. And like, I don't know if anybody else caught that total flip between the two at the end, where it's all of a sudden it seemed like it was Michaela's idea that they should break up, and all of a sudden Zach was the one who wanted to keep trying. Just absolutely flabbergasting. But I skipped ahead a little bit too much there. Let's jump back to the end of last week with Zach driving off into the middle of the night to run away from Hurricane Michaela, and we saw a ridiculous scene from Michaela that was absolutely scary and 100% not the behavior you would want from your partner in a relationship. We go from there to Zach basically ghosting Michaela, won't respond to her texts, won't answer her calls. But on the other hand, Michaela feels like texting him "I love you" should just fix everything, and 100% that's not the case. Like, yes, you may still love that person, but saying "I love you" does not excuse your behavior, does not excuse what happened on the retreat. I really hated Dr. Pepper immediately trying to force them back together. You know, it pretty seemed like Zach was out, Zach was free, Zach was clear, and all of a sudden they're sucking them back together. Michaela seems totally oblivious that this show has been recorded. She seems to think that she's been the perfect angel throughout everything, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with anything she did. And I think that she was saying how she was begging Zach to stay. Meanwhile, they immediately cut to the scene of Michaela telling him to get the F out, and then just interrupting him with the okay bye, just clueless, just completely clueless. And Michaela, that whole time in the talks with Dr. Pepper, she's just working overtime trying to pour that blame onto Zach, and I was not buying it for a second. And then she starts saying how, you know, her temper tantrum was a panic attack. I don't know if any of you have ever been around anyone who's had a panic attack or had a panic attack yourself. The typical behavior is not storming through a building, flipping benches, trying to smash ping pong tables and foosball tables, and then yelling recklessly. Like, usually that person shuts down. And is like not physically not able to do anything. That was not a panic attack that you had, Michaela. And trying to pass your behavior off as that is even a bigger red flag to me than the behavior itself. That second meeting with Dr. Pepper, just absolutely infuriating to watch, and to see Zach and Michaela totally flip roles. Like, how did this happen? You know, it's like I said at the start, suddenly it's Michaela's idea that they should break up, and Zach's the one he wants to work on it. He wants to figure things out. Just get me done with this couple. And that leaves us with 3 remaining couples. First off, let's jump into Mirla and Gil. Did they just try to find like 2 people with the most tragic backstories that they could and put them together? I just hated the thought that somebody thought it was a good idea for Gil to take Mirla to where his father was murdered. Like, why? No, like, no wonder you haven't. Like, Gil seems surprised. Like, hey, I've never brought anyone here. Why would you want to bring anybody here? Like, I don't want to. I don't want to take somebody and be like, hey, this is the location of the biggest, saddest, darkest moment of my life, and I just wanted to share that with you. No, that's not okay. That's totally normal to not take people back to where your father was murdered, and wasn't a big fan that's where this show pushed for them to go. Moving on from that, money is still an issue for these two, and there's some, like, I'm kind of on both sides. Like, I don't just think Gil's right or Mirla's right. I think that like Mirla has money, she should be allowed to live her life how she wants. If that's how she wants to spend her money, if that's how she feels good, feels fulfilled in life, that's what she gets enjoyment from. That is totally fine. But on the other side of things, if they are planning on saving for a house or starting a family, then some things do need to change, and that's a two-way street. That's not just, oh, merely you have to cut all these things off from your life so that you can pay for everything. That's not right. If they want to take those steps and they want to progress their relationship to that level, to buying a house, to starting a family, then there probably is going to have to be financial sacrifices made, and that needs to be a decision that they make. It can't be just a demand of Gil saying, no, you can't do this because we need to save. No, there needs to be a little bit of middle ground there, and honestly, I don't think that it's a big enough issue that they won't be able to get there. When those things become more important to them as a couple, then I think Mirla will have no problem changing some of her spending habits to help move those things along. When her fulfillment comes from Gil and their relationship together and starting a family together, I think that Mirla will gladly and happily change the focus of some of her funds into that instead. Brett and Ryan, very nice of them to show up about 75% of the way through the episode. I actually had to pause the recording to see, like, it was an hour and a half into the 2 hours when they had like their first significant moment on the show, which is like ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And you know what? For that first moment, if you just tuned into that for the first time of the season, and you saw them out on the farm having that little picnic where they're kind of sharing their letters and whatnot with each other, you would have thought that things were going pretty well for them. You would have thought that this had been a pretty successful couple with a pretty good shot at making it on decision day. Cut to their next scene where they're back at Brett's apartment, and Brett just hits Ryan with the bomb like, oh, hey, you just matched with one of my friends on a dating site. And, as we know from Ryan, he doesn't like having those confrontations. He doesn't like having those fights, and he just doesn't engage. I think that he probably could have explained a little better what had happened. I think regardless of the situation, absolute stupidity on Ryan's part. Like Brett said, just wait a week. Just wait a week. 1 week. Wait 1 week. Like, just wait a single week. You've gone through whatever it is, 7 weeks of this process, and now you gotta download the dating apps. Just seemed totally ridiculous to me, and to absolutely the final nail in this relationship's coffin. Lastly, we have Rachel and Jose, and some trust issues popping back up. We got to go all the way back to their first big fight for the fuel for tonight's drama, and that is where Rachel went after Jose locked her out of the apartment. And you know what she did? She phoned an ex and went and stayed the night there. We don't know if anything happened. We don't know what Rachel's relationship with that ex is like today. Maybe they dated, they broke up, and then they were just friends after. We don't know. But it feels really, really weird that it's coming out now. And with everything that's happened with them, I could see this being a major hurdle for them, because this is exactly what Jose doesn't want. It's exactly what he fears in a relationship. Cheating, I think, is probably one of his least or biggest red flags, deal breakers that he has. So I'm kind of interested to see how this final week plays out for Rachel and Jose. I'm still not on board with them as a couple long term, but I'm interested to see if this is enough for them to decide to go their separate ways on decision day. All right, that's going to wrap things up for me tonight, as I all of a sudden got the hiccups, so we better wrap this video up. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, we'll see you later.